We're looking at a question that Nico submitted, and they said, should I send my supervisor messy drafts or wait until everything is polished? Matthew, what are your thoughts here on when to send the draft to the dreaded supervisor?
Yeah, so that supervisor relationship is a really delicate one, and one that a lot of our clients have a hard time kind of navigating. So, a couple of thoughts on this. First, I would never say to send a messy draft to your supervisor. And I have been a supervisor. As a supervisor, I'm very hands on. As a coach, I'm very hands on. As a coach with Grad Coach, I'm okay with a messy draft because I'm your friend. I'm your partner getting you through. As a supervisor, I'm also okay with it, but I want to see that you've done the work, right? It's a different mindset. And so, messy is a spectrum. I think it's okay to send work to your supervisor if it's like 80% of the way there, but definitely not like 30% of the way there. We want to get pretty close to the end. And I actually advise my clients often to send their manuscripts in at that 80% mark because it leaves room for your supervisor to weigh in. And some supervisors really want to do that. Some supervisors really want to get their hands dirty and get into your paper and provide that deep feedback. Some don't. Some want perfect drafts and they don't want to have to get their hands dirty. And so you have to vibe that out a little bit with your supervisor. But I think that 70 to 80% mark, I think that's a safe place to send stuff in. Ultimately, you need to have that conversation with your supervisor. That's part of building the supervisor relationship is setting those clear expectations. In addition to paper cleanliness, I would also say cadence of submission is also very important. So if your advisor wants to see a draft every other Friday, I think it's very important that you hit that every other Friday deadline, even if it's a little messier, because that shows a level of respect and responsibility to your advisor. It shows that you're making progress, and your advisor is probably going to be more helpful to you if you're hitting those benchmarks, even if your work is still a little messy, than if you're missing those benchmarks striving for perfection. The last thing I will say is that perfection is not a thing, especially in dissertation land. You are probably not going to like your dissertation when it's done. That's a hard reality. It's a hard truth. I am not happy with mine 12 years out. Please do not go on the internet and find it. I mean, you can, but it is not my best work because it's really my first work. Right. And so it's not supposed to be your best work. You're not going to be happy with it. There's always going to be typos. There's always going to be errors. There's always going to be things looking back. Perfection is not a thing in dissertation land. So don't wait for perfection to turn your stuff in because then you're never going to turn your stuff in and then you're never going to be a doctor.
I think that is so true. And it's something I struggled with myself as well. When is the right time to hand it in? I was fortunate that I had really good communication and relationship with my main supervisor. So we knew what we were both looking for. In my case, my supervisor was really clear that she wanted progress. She didn't want perfection. So in that case, I did that conversation early on. I asked them up front, what are you looking for when you're expecting a draft from me? So it's really important to have that conversation. The other thing that you can do is talk to other students who have been supported by that supervisor. They can give you an idea of what the expectations are. And lastly, do make sure that you are also following the institutional expectations as well. Working with a range of students at Grad Coach, we know that there are some courses where they limit the number of submissions you can do. That's a whole different story. If you've got
Mhm.
limited submissions, you want to get the most bang for your buck. So you really want to give them as higher quality, not perfection, as Matthew said, nothing's perfect, but you want to then be giving them as much to work with. But if you've got a constant engagement with your supervisor, if they're working with you throughout the process, that's a very different story. Have the conversation, speak to them about their needs and expectations, and then stick to those as well. The last bit of advice I'll give here is sometimes it can be helpful to not send that messy draft if you've got an upcoming deadline where they're looking for something and you don't want to submit that draft that you don't feel is ready. But don't not submit something. give them a clear outline, a very detailed outline if you can. That shifts the focus. Obviously, speak to them before you do so, because if you give them an outline when they're expecting a full draft, they're going to be unhappy. But you want to then do what you can to get their feedback without losing that opportunity as well. But again, every relationship with a supervisor is unique and different. So make sure you are communicating well with them. Assuming that's going well, you will then be able to follow their expectations. And that's really what you want to be doing. In many cases, they're your marker. They're the ones who are giving you the green stamp and giving you that doctorate. So you want to keep them happy as well.